Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the teachings of the legendary Zen master Mazu, a master whose wisdom is profound, often paradoxical, and really challenges how we think about our own minds. So Mazu kicks things off with this incredible, really powerful metaphor. What he's saying is that every single one of us already has this treasure sword. It's our perfect, brilliant inner nature, this capacity for just profound clarity. And the key thing here, it's not something you have to go out and find. It's already here. And this, right here, sets up this central puzzle of being human, doesn't it? If we are, at our core, already whole and complete, why do we spend so much of our lives feeling lost, confused, and like something's missing? That's the conflict we're going to unpack today. All right, let's jump right into our first paradox. And this one gets to the very heart of that constant nagging chatter that runs through our heads all day long. I mean, we've all been there. It feels like you're in a constant wrestling match with this restless monkey mind, right? A stream of thoughts and worries that just seems to pop up from nowhere and completely take over. But here's where Mazu throws us a total curveball with this concept, mu seng bion. It's this wild, radical idea that our thoughts, our delusions, don't actually arise out of thin air, because in a fundamental sense, they were never really born to begin with. They have no solid independent existence of their own. Now, wait a second. He's not saying you don't experience thoughts. Of course you do. What he's asking us to do is to look closer at what they actually are. We perceive them as these solid, heavy realities. But the Zen truth, as you can see, is that they're more like fleeting phenomena, totally empty of any lasting substance. So the crucial point, the big takeaway here is this. Instead of fighting our thoughts like there's some invading army, we can learn to see them for what they truly are, just hollow shadows. They're like images passing through the vast, clear space of your mind, and they have absolutely no power to stain it. Okay, so if you're following along, this insight leads to a really logical but very tricky question. If our mind is already fundamentally pure and our delusions are just shadows, then why bother? Why do we need to practice meditation or do any kind of spiritual work at all? And Mazu's answer here is, well, it's a bit of a shock to the system. He just comes right out and says it. Do not cultivate. Do not do seated meditation. I mean, this seems to contradict everything we think we know about Zen. It's a statement that has really baffled people for centuries. So what's going on? Is he really telling everyone to just pack it in and stop trying? Well, not quite. The real key here is to understand who this advice is actually for. And this is where we see the really subtle, brilliant distinction. Mazu is describing the state of someone who is already awakened. For them, there's no need to practice to get to a place they already live in. But for the rest of us, for the seekers still tangled up in confusion, that practice is the necessary struggle that leads to freedom. The source material gives us this absolutely fantastic analogy to explain this. I want you to picture a crocodile trapped in a thick wire. It doesn't just sit there waiting. No way. It thrashes, it fights, it struggles with every ounce of its being because its life is on the line. Well, that desperate life-or-death struggle, that is our practice. It might be hard, it might even feel painful, but that struggle is the very force that finally snaps the wire of our delusion. Yeah, you might be wounded after, but you're free. And those wounds heal, leaving nothing but freedom. So you've seen through the delusion, you've gone through that necessary struggle. What does life actually look like on the other side? What is this awakened life all about? The first thing to get is that the goal isn't to float away on some cloud and escape reality. It's about finding this deep sense of freedom and ease and clarity right here, in the middle of our messy, ordinary, everyday lives. Mazu calls this a person of the way, and their life, it just flows. They don't resist what's happening, they move with it. They can have that deep meditative awareness whether they're in a chaotic market or a quiet room. Their actions come from a place of natural integrity, not from some rigid rule book. They don't need to do special spiritual things. Their whole life becomes the practice. And this connects perfectly to the story of Mazu's own awakening. The story goes that his master sat down next to him while he was meditating and just started polishing a roof tile. When Mazu asked what he was doing, his master said, "I'm making a mirror." And right then, it just clicked for Mazu. You can't force a tile to become a mirror, and you can't force yourself into enlightenment with purely mechanical practice. The mirror-like mind is already there. You just have to recognize it. And so, that brings us full circle, right back to that powerful image we started with. The entire point of Mazu's teaching is to get us to turn our gaze inward. The clarity, the freedom, that treasure sword you're looking for, it's not somewhere out there, it's right here. So the only question left is the one Mazu would ask you. Where is your treasure sword right now?